Yes, team. Welcome to another episode of the Jake O'Connor, the High Functioning Addiction podcast. Today, I've got a special guest. Her name is Karla, and Karla and I met back, it's about a year ago now, back in January at our business coaches mastermind. And um, I know that she's got a very inspiring story for the high performers that potentially normalize certain addictive behaviors and don't quite see it as a problem. So I wanted to get Karla to jump on today to share her story. But first of all, Karla, I just wanted to welcome you to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here and to chat about all of this with you. I think it's important topics that we're about to dive into.
Yeah, yeah. And this conversation stemmed from your most recent LinkedIn post. So for people that don't know who you are, before we dive into that, because obviously LinkedIn is correlated to what you do, right? So
Yeah.
for people that don't know who you are, if you were to describe yourself, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm a LinkedIn personal branding expert and ghostwriter. So I focus on building impactful personal brands on LinkedIn for founders and creators. And I use a story-driven strategy. So I'm also a LinkedIn creator myself. So I've built my own personal brand through telling my story on LinkedIn. Not just like my entrepreneurial story, my self-development, wellness, um, ADHD, mental health, like all the things that people struggle with a little bit, but I bring vulnerability to the platform so that I can help people and so that people resonate with me and can connect with me on a deeper level.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think LinkedIn, I'm sure you may agree or you may disagree, but I think the reason why these posts perform so well on LinkedIn is because LinkedIn is this like professional kind of platform, right? It's very much like suit, jacket, tie, like I'm here to kind of represent my business and my corporation, but then a lot of people oversee the human behind the job title and the success
Mhm.
that they've accumulated. And the story driven post that you shared recently, which prompted me to reach out to you, is exactly what people need to be doing, right? Like sharing their journey and actually the human behind the name and the title on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
do you see that just on LinkedIn? Like I know you're on like other social media platforms, but the popularity and the high engagement and stuff like that, do you think that LinkedIn is actually starting to now turn towards these story driven posts rather than just posting about like jobs that they're advertising, for example?
Yeah, because that's how you connect with people. Like whether you're an employee or an employer or you're just on the platform as a creator as well, like you show up and you tell your story, it helps you stand out in the sea of like thousands of other experts or sort of competitors as you put it, but there's that happens across the board. Like that's why TikTok blew up as well because of the raw, organic, real human storytelling where people just share their experiences in their life, like in the moment. And the same with Instagram as well, the same with YouTube. But LinkedIn now, it's like going through this pivot of authenticity where people are just tired of reading about the success stories and they/we all want to see the messy middle. So we don't want to just say like, oh, this win, this achievement, this success. Want to see the like what actually did it take to get there? And like that's my first like post that blew up on LinkedIn was like 3 years ago when I first started building my brand. And I was posting like quite corporate, quite salesy, like didn't really know what I was doing, very professional and polished. And then I used to have a WordPress blog like 10 years ago where I spoke about anxiety and depression, mental health. And I just like brought some of like the Carla energy to my LinkedIn post back then at a time when nobody was. And I spoke about how like I look normal on the outside. Like you would probably look at me and think nothing is like there's nothing physically wrong, but you might think that or assume there's nothing mentally wrong. But I spoke about having anxiety and emetophobia, which is a extreme phobia of sickness. I spoke about having like ADHD and depression as well. And that post like was the first post that I think got like over 700 likes and got like an outpouring of like support and encouragement and leads as well. Loads of people wanted to work with me after I posted about that because they see the human. But I think most people like they're scared to show the vulnerable side because they're so afraid of the fear of judgment and not looking like they can handle whatever it is that they're sort of going through. And they're scared to not be seen as professional as well. Like, but like, look at the statistics on mental health and all the rest of it. Most of us experience it at one point or another. It doesn't make us any less professional.
No, I completely agree. And that's, I think for any like business owner or high performer or someone that's just genuinely curious about your story and your journey. You mentioned that you've suffered with, well, you suffer with ADHD and you did with anxiety. And I've got the post here, and you mentioned about like alcohol, TV, caffeine, sugar, and all of these normalized behaviors that people don't necessarily see as a problem until it's a problem, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the thing with alcohol and caffeine and stuff. It's so normalized. Like for anyone that's in the office drinking 5 to 10 coffees a day, it's just, oh, that's just me. That's just what I do.
yeah.
So if we were to rewind like to the air quotes vulnerable Karla back 10 years ago when she was posting about her story and her journey and her ADHD and the anxiety and everything like that. Um, if you could put yourself back in her shoes, like how was she feeling?
She was very, very, very anxious, but like I didn't understand what anxiety was back then. I remember posting on Facebook like a decade ago saying I thought something was wrong with me, like physically wrong, and it's at a time when like I'm nearly 30, so I use Facebook like it's so long ago, but I was posting like I don't feel right. I've got all these like things wrong with me. I've got like a sore stomach and I can't eat and all that. And I just thought, does anybody know what's wrong with me? And people were writing like, this sounds like anxiety. And I'm like, I don't have anxiety. Why would I be anxious? I have no reason to be anxious. Like, I've got an amazing family, amazing friends. Like, there's no, like, there's just no way that I could be anxious. Didn't even know what anxiety was. And then, yeah, the more I looked into it, the more I spoke to the doctors and all that, it's this generalized, internalized anxiety that has just been like ever present. So that does correlate with ADHD, which I only got diagnosed with like a year ago. But yeah, the mental health side, like I think I've just been on a whole journey over the past decade of trying to understand myself and like learn about my brain. And then like once I did learn about my brain and the self-sabotaging behaviors that I was doing, having to basically rewire my brain. I think that's genuinely what I've had to do, like rewire my entire existence and essentially like become reborn in a way, which sounds very cliche, but I'm a completely different person than I was like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not the same person at all, and it's like shed an old version of me, and I
And
feel like I had to do that.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely, well, it's probably eaten up a lot of mental and emotional energy and bandwidth, right? Like you're probably exhausted. You were probably, were you feeling like, did you feel off? Like, obviously, I know that you mentioned you had like sore stomach and you had these physical symptoms, but like mentally, how did you feel when you were riddled with that anxiety? Like, did you know something was up from a mental and emotional standpoint, or was it just the physical signs?
No, it was mental and emotional as well. Like just the voice in my head was like ever present. I suffered with insomnia. I was like emotionally, emotionally was a roller coaster. Like I used to be very, very, very up and down and like so chaotic and I don't know, I just like hormonal and emotional and like very hypersensitive and yeah, just like I don't know, like a little shell of myself, I think. Like I grew up and I was like very shy and introverted and I've had to like shed that version of myself. And I think I basically like, yeah, I've like rewired my brain, but also deluded myself into becoming this version of me. Because I just like, I set all these goals and I was like, I'm not stopping until I become the person that I want to be. And that's why the all or nothing personality comes into it. Because it's like, I was, yeah, there was a time in my life where I was so severely unhappy. Like, to the point that I didn't even want to be here anymore. And I look at who I was back then, and I was just like working myself into the ground. Like my business was just like new, didn't know what I was doing, didn't think I was capable of having a business. Um, I would, when I wasn't working, which I would work like crazy, crazy, crazy hours, it was very unproductive, like a busy full 18-hour days, staring at the four walls, so bad. And then I would, after that, come down and just like sit on the couch and watch TV all night and like binge watch rubbish. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was good in a way because it got me out my own head. But then I was using that as an escapism. And it got to the point where I couldn't even be alone with my own thoughts. Like I've watched The Vampire Diaries like 11 times, right? That's 8 series, and like I can't even tell you how many days of my life I've probably wasted watching that one TV show. Like just complete waste of time now that I look at it. Um, all these other things like binge eating, I used to binge eat so badly, which again is like a symptom of ADHD because you're looking for the dopamine hit and the dopamine fix. And I used to just eat like absolute rubbish, and I didn't used to drink too much but when I drank, it was a lot growing up in like Scotland, you'll know that from being in the UK yourself, but like the culture is drink. Like there's barely anybody I know from back home that like is teetotal or sober. Like I could probably count in like one hand how many people are teetotal. And you're seen to be weird if you don't drink. Like she's an absolute creep. Why does she not drink?
I've worked with actually quite a few clients from Scotland. Like it's funny you say that because I was thinking this recently. Like a lot of my recent clients, especially this year, have been from Glasgow or from an area in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think like what's the common theme here? But it obviously is the culture, right? And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I heard a statistic recently that Glasgow has or Scotland has either the highest in Europe or it might be the highest in the no, I don't think it was the highest in the world. I think it was Europe, but the highest alcoholism and addiction rates in a certain area. I can't remember where exactly that area
Yeah.
was, but it's rife, right? But
It's
it's
it,
normalized.
it's you know what, it's everywhere, and it's like I'm not anti-alcohol, right? I'm not going to project like my teetotalism on anybody else. I just think it needs to be done in moderation. Like I've experienced so many things. Like I grew up in one of the most deprived housing estates in Scotland. I've seen a lot and I've experienced a lot with drugs and alcohol. Like I've seen it firsthand, I've seen it secondhand, I've seen the effect it has on families. And it's like I've lost family members to drugs as well. It's like I've lost people that I love because of addiction. It's like it's awful. So it's yeah.
Yeah, and
It's hard to speak of it as well because it's like so ingrained in the culture. It's like completely normalized to just I don't know. I used to go into these like modes of like I will just drink until I black out. Like looking back, how is that normal? I would drink until I would black out and I wouldn't and then I'd be like, oh, I'm having such a good night. I'd like fall asleep in a club and then I'd wake up, not remember anything from the night before, and then I'd go into like this like potato phase of just like junk food and slobbing about and watching TV and then not move for like days on end. And you're just like, I think the best thing that I've gained from not drinking is time because you just save so much time by not doing all that other stuff.
yeah, yeah, that's so right. And like I want to circle back on the overworking and the
Yeah.
binge watching like the telly and stuff like that, because I feel like a lot of people know that alcohol is a problem, and deep down you kind of know that you probably shouldn't be going out and getting smashed every weekend, and
Yeah.
they still continue in that cycle. And obviously there's a mental and emotional component to that, but the overworking and the caffeine and the telly and stuff, that's stuff that some people aren't even actually aware of. Like
Hmm.
even phone addictions like social media and vaping and stuff like that, like they're all so normalized, right? So
Yeah.
your overworking and your binge eating and your television kind of addiction or usage, whatever you want to call it, what period of that, when was that an issue in your life? Was that during the time of anxiety where the overworking then triggered the anxiety, then triggered the TV? Like what was the sequence and the triggers here? If you can look back.
I mean, it was a combination of different things. It was like at the time, I I had just come out of a very, very, very toxic job. It's like my mental health was already very low. And then I was like doing a massive house renovation. Like I wasn't happy in my relationship. And then I was worried about finances. There was a lot of like different stressors in my life at the time. So I think it was just like a compound effect of everything like getting on top of me. It's like I've had anxiety like I think 24/7 for my whole life, and I probably always will have it a little bit, but also probably undiagnosed ADHD. And I was doing a lot of things that were worsening my ADHD symptoms. So like for anybody who doesn't really know what ADHD is, like a deficiency in dopamine. So you just seek dopamine from other sources, usually unhealthy sources. So that's why the crime rate is so bad for people with ADHD. The addiction rate is awful. Traffic accidents because people just want to go out and speed and go on joyrides, just looking for any dopamine hit. So for me, I think I was getting dopamine from watching TV, from alcohol. Like it got to the stage where I was just having prosecco in my house every night after work. That's not me. I was just like I wasn't even addicted. I just liked it, or it was giving me like a little buzz. Or I was getting like dopamine hits from eating crisps because I was like a huge binge eater. Like dopamine hits from all these different things, and then I had to look at myself, and I was like got to the stage where I was so low. I didn't even realize all these things were adding up to make me feel like the way that I felt. I had to take a step back and I looked at my life and I looked at my happiness levels across the board. Like, how is my business? How is my relationship? How is my my health? Like, I put on like 3 stone because I was just like so anxious and I was binge eating. I just felt like a slob and I wasn't moving my body and things like that. So it's just like looking at every factor of life and being like, they're all like I'm rating them like 1 and 2 out of 10 just now. Like, why are they all so low? Like, this is obviously why I feel awful. And it got to the stage where, like I wrote about in that LinkedIn post, like I didn't want to be here anymore because I was so low, and I genuinely thought I was born unhappy. Like I had it in my head that I was born unhappy. It's like I would just then like continue to self-sabotage because I was like, well, nothing is ever going to get better anyway. So I'll just continue doing the things that I'm doing because nothing's going to change. I've tried all the habits and I've tried to stick to routine and nothing works. And it got to the stage where I was so low, I was having these like intrusive thoughts that I was like, I don't want to act on these. So it was either like I change my entire current reality or I act on the intrusive thoughts and I'm not here anymore. But I was like, that's not even an option. So then I just had to like I says rewire my entire existence and then look one by one at everything that I'm doing. And it didn't like all start overnight. It was like a gradual process of like becoming and cutting things out because you can't go from like zero to where I am now. It's taken 2 years, 2+ years, 3 years.
Yeah, sounds like you did like an audit on your life, and you
Yeah.
just you got the little Google document spreadsheet out and you I suppose did well. I suppose did a little audit on the areas for the people that are listening that may potentially want to complete some form of audit like you did to understand like where is draining my life essentially. Where would you say the places people need to start with would be? Like if someone's listening to this and they're like, shit, what Karla's saying here is very relevant, and this kind of sounds like what I'm experiencing, where would they start?
But I'm actually about to launch a program that dives into all of this, which is
There you go. Do you
exciting.
want to share it on here or?
It's not officially launched yet,
Okay.
but I will share the details with you and you can link it in the
Yeah.
bio. But I would start, what I started with was a vision board, which sounds like not a lot of people want to do that, but whether it's a vision board or setting goals, you have to look at your life and set intentional actions, I think. Like set intentional goals and then actively work towards them. That's how you like have direction and have purpose. So many people are lacking clarity and direction, and that's why they end up doing the things that they do, or they're deeply unhappy in their life, or they've got trauma that they've not worked through. It's like look at all the sources of your pain, and then also look at your goals and think like, how am I going to take like actionable steps to meet those goals? And the goals don't have to be like huge milestones, like reaching like 100K. It could literally just be, I want to go to therapy. Like, that's a goal. So, like, what are the actions you're going to take to get to therapy? Like, I'm going to contact a therapist by X date, and then I'm going to do that, and then we're going to start by X date. And it's just setting all these little, like, goals that you can actively work towards, put a deadline towards it. Like, that's what I did. That's how I, like, properly started. I started pouring into myself, and I started just saying like, right, I want to work on my mental health. So then I started doing that. I want to work on my physical health. I started doing that, my business, like my creativity, my eating habits, my nutrition, my sleep. And it was like all these different categories of life. I created like micro goals, and then it's like day by day, step by step, like just work towards them. Then it all like compounded. And also I did the 75 hard challenge, which helped
Okay.
with that's the reason I cut out alcohol. And then I felt so good after like 30 days. I was like, I'm never drinking again. It's
Mm.
been 2.5 years and
Oh
I will
wow.
never drink again.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, the clients that I work with, I create like an energizers and a drainers list. And that kind of sounds like what you're talking about there, where it's like what takes from your cup, what pours into your cup. How
Yeah,
can you do more of what takes away from your, no, sorry, how can you do less of what takes away from your energy? And how can you do more of what energizes you? And it
yeah,
really is that simple sometimes. But a lot of people, there's like information overload with like AI and stuff now, right? So there's so many different avenues people can take, and there's so much people can add into their life, and um so many different like routes and avenues and stuff like that. But when you strip it down to the core, it's just really understanding what is draining you right now and how
yeah,
can you do less of it. And
yeah. But
sometimes it really is that simple.
yeah, I think that's the thing I've realised, like with my own self-development journey, and now I think a lot of like my family and friends and like people in my like community online, like they'll look at me and they'll like reach out to me. So I think I've genuinely had like thousands of people over the past like recently, like even over the past year, reach out to me and saying like sharing my journey has helped them in some way. It's sort of like you hold a mirror up to yourself, but then like by me sharing my story online, I'm just sharing my story. I'm not telling anybody else what to do, but it's helping them hold a mirror up to themselves and be like, right, okay, like I didn't actually even realize this was potentially a problem, but now you've mentioned that it is. Like, for example, even just like I don't snooze my alarm anymore. And because when you snooze your alarm, you go into like another 90-minute sleep cycle, and then it can take you like up to 4 hours to not feel groggy. So it's like even little things like that is like what actions are you taking every single day to like become the person that you actually want to be? It's like if you're sleeping in really late, like you can do something about that. Like you you set your alarm for earlier and you get up when the alarm goes off. It sounds easier said than done, but it's like the little things that you look at and it's like they all compound.
They do. Yeah. What would you say the biggest, when people raise their hand and say, Carla, that was amazing post, I really resonated with it, etc., etc. What would you say the most common issue would be? Like if we're looking at kind of addiction, whether that be overworking, substances, alcohol, you can even get addicted to negative thoughts, you can even get addicted to negative emotions, right? Like the
Yeah.
cortisol and stuff like that. Like what would be the biggest theme that you see with the people that raise their hand and share their story with you?
A lot of people just feel stuck. Like they just feel stuck in their life and they're going through this never ending cycle of like overworking and then like trying to hit their goals and then failing to hit their goals and going through like burnout cycles and they're just getting like stuck within that. And then there's a lot of limiting beliefs that come with that as well. And it does a lot of damage to your nervous system. Like that's what I've experienced too. So I think a lot of people they they want a little bit of guidance when it comes to helping themselves. Um, so yeah, that's why I'm not a psychologist or a doctor or any sort of therapist, but if I share like my story, my journey, the step that I've taken, like if it helps even like one person, it's worth it to me. But like just yeah, trying to like give valuable takeaways, whether that's people have even says like they struggle so much with like stopping to watch TV. I seen a quote and it was like watch more sunsets than you do Netflix. And I was like, that's such a beautiful quote because it's like it just encourages you to get outdoors more and like doom scrolling on social media. I've worked in marketing for a decade. Like I have my business on my phone. So like doom scrolling was a problem for me because I would just go from like a client account to like scrolling on my own social media. I had to break that cycle and that habit by making sure that like I was only having dedicated time to like my phone, and then when I do scroll, it's very intentional. I've curated feeds now that are like engaging and entertaining and actually provide me value and education so that I don't like want to just doom scroll and like brain rot essentially.
Yeah, and it's so hard as well, right? Because they hire the world's top psychologists and physicians and stuff to actually wire the apps so they target specific areas in your brain and they keep you hooked. And then it's every few posts they'll drop like I don't know, a fearful reel in there or something, and they know what they're doing, right? There's a really good Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. Have you heard of it before?
I've heard of it, but I've not
Oh,
seen
it's
it.
so good. You got to watch it. It's essentially they interview like Facebook engineers and like Instagram engineers and stuff, and they talk about how they've designed the apps to keep you hooked to the apps. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's so important to take back control of your digital devices. There's two really good apps for anyone that's listening. That's like I actually resonate with that, and I'm pretty bad on my social media. There's two apps which you can use. There's an app called Opal, which is OPAL, which essentially just kicks you out of the apps. Like you can set specific times and it will completely block you out. And if you set it on the most difficult if you set it on the hardest difficulty, you physically cannot go onto the app. Like you physically cannot. So that's so
That's
good for
fine.
like taking back control. And then there's another app called Newsfeed Eradicator, because that again, it's so easy to get caught scrolling on like LinkedIn or even YouTube, like all of these platforms now you can just scroll and scroll. That takes away the newsfeed. So you essentially just see quotes instead of like posts and stuff. You can go onto
Yeah.
Instagram, send your messages, do your work on there, but then you won't get caught scrolling because it takes away the newsfeed. That's also a really good app too.
I think a huge part of it is like breaking the habit of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because once you get out of the habit of doing it, like that's you. But it's so much easier said than done. Like the I think that's why it's important to like curate like your social media. But I've even taken steps. I work on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my business. I build my business on LinkedIn. I don't have the LinkedIn app on my phone. I deleted it from my phone because I was mindlessly scrolling constantly. It was good for my business. I was engaging with people and I was connecting quicker. But I was spending so much time on that app, like hours and hours and hours per day. Now, like when I go on my desktop, I'm very, very targeted and intentional with my time on it, which is what I've done. I don't go on TikTok anymore. I don't like scroll through my feed on Instagram. I just look at people's stories sometimes, and it's like now that's like a little reward for me for whenever I've got a bit of free time. Like it's not something that I impulsively feel like I have to go and do. Whereas before I was like, what have I missed? I have to scroll. It's like a sort of FOMO in a way. You just feel like you're missing out if you're not scrolling 24/7. But it gets to the point where you get like your thumbs sore if you've been scrolling that much and you're like, right, this is horrible.
Well, it's hunting like a lion and not grazing like a cow, right? Like it's so
Yeah.
easy to just be, oh, I'll reply to this message, I'll watch Netflix and I'll get back to my clients or this and that. But it's actually doing the people that you speak to a disservice by just being on 24/7. And as you
Yeah.
know, you've experienced burnout in the past, and I'm sure that was a contributing factor. I'm sure being on all the time contributed to that emotional and mental fatigue, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
have you got a separate work phone to a personal phone?
No, I don't.
Ah,
I
you
did
need
have
to do
one.
that.
I had one, but I was just like, I was just forgetting to take them both out, to be
Uh,
fair. But my like my clients, I'm in communication with them, but like we don't text back and forward all the time. Like I have boundaries, and I'm living in Bali now, so 7 hour time difference, which actually works perfectly for me. So like I am not like bound to like one to one. I do a lot of the work on my own, and then I communicate with clients sporadically. But like I have my entire morning to myself now. So I got up early. I don't check my phone. Like the first time ever in my life since I moved out here, I do not check my phone because I know as soon as I check my phone, there's going to be so many notifications because my friends and family will have messaged me while I've been asleep because the time difference, and that will immediately make me feel overwhelmed because I'm like, I feel guilty for not replying. But also, if I go into WhatsApp to reply to one person, I'll be there for like 2 hours because then I'll reply to everyone else, and then I'll probably go into Instagram, reply to DMs on there, and then I'll probably like end up on my photos like it's something completely random. So now I just don't go on my phone like in the morning at all. Wake up, get ready, like maybe even like read a book, do some journaling, go to the gym, work out, like put good music on, talk to people in real life, maybe even do a bit of recovery or like a swim, like chill by the pool, and then I go into deep work mode and then I reply to people because by that time it's like maybe 4 or 5 p.m. my time. It's like the UK is starting to wake up. So it's like I'm barely on my phone now. My screen time is reduced by like 80%. And you don't need to move to Bali to do that. It's just like you set intentional actions and you put boundaries in place for yourself and even for other people. Like if your clients are on your back 24/7, like you should have a time where you're like, right, okay, unless it's absolutely urgent, like I won't be replying after this time and we can pick it up tomorrow.
mm. For the people that are listening, they're like, because I completely agree. I do exactly the same. But I know there's going to be some people listening that are like own their own business or in a high performing role, and they're like, I cannot do that, Carla. When deep down, we probably know that they can, but a lot of people will probably say that they can't. So for the people that could be in that position, what would you say to them? Because I feel like a lot of people think that they can't do that when actually it probably just takes a bit of organization or pre-organization to actually understand like what's important and what needs doing and stuff like that. So what
Yeah.
recommendations would you suggest to someone in that position? Because I can imagine you probably thought the same, right?
Yeah, even now, like I'm not 100% like stuck on my boundaries. I'll be on the back of a grab bike, like messaging a client and sending a voice note. I'm not perfect, but I just like have stronger boundaries in place now than what I did. But I think first off, it was a mindset shift, like 100% mindset shift. Like if you don't reply immediately, like your clients wouldn't hate you, and if they hate you, they're the wrong clients. If you've got, that's something I've learned. If your clients are on your back 24/7 and don't even give you room to breathe as a service provider, or even if it's your boss doing that, because I've been in, like, I was employed for years before, like, they're not a good employer or they're not a good client, and like, you should reconsider working with people like that because you have to protect your own peace and your own energy as well. If someone is constantly draining your energy, like, it's a problem. So, like, you have to face that as well. I think the second mindset shift I had to make was the world is not going to end if I don't like stop everything I'm doing and like not reply to my client right now. Like unless it's absolutely urgent and they need me right there and then, like I don't have to reply immediately. Like I am available, but I'm available at set times. And even if internally you give yourself like I'm in a deep work because sometimes when people get into, especially high performers and ADHDers, you get into like a deep work mode. If someone messages you, it throws you off the deep work mode as well, and then you just end up in a spiral of texting back and forward. So even if you leave it like a half an hour and you're like, right, okay, I'll like reply to them in a half an hour once I'm finished this task. So it's a matter of like prioritization as well, but I definitely think it's so important to protect your own energy while still respecting like your clients or whoever it is you're in communication with and still being there for them, but just in a way that works for you too.
Yeah, and I feel like that comes from a abundant mindset rather than a scarce mindset. I can imagine you probably weren't like that before you went on this personal development journey, right? Because that to me sounds like that's an abundance Carla rather than a
Yeah,
scarcity Carla.
yeah,
So for people that maybe aren't in that abundance camp and they may be in that scarcity camp where like they're potentially a bit fearful or they're so used to this stress and anxiousness and overworking because that just becomes normal, right? That just becomes someone's
yeah.
baseline kind of way of living. How did that impact you? Like when you rewind to when you were in that kind of scarcity, kind of overworking, 18-hour days, burnout, all of this stuff that you just described, what were the signs that you knew that something needed to change?
I was just available 24/7. Like when I was employed, my boss used to message me, like email me like 2 in the morning. And I used to wake up to like go to the bathroom and I would like reply to his email at 3 in the morning when I'm half asleep. But like that's ridiculous. Like why is he messaging me at 2 a.m. and I was like scheduled the email for in the morning and why am I replying when I'm half asleep and not alert? Like it doesn't make any sense, but that is coming from a people pleaser, trying to become a confident people pleaser. But I'm a people pleaser like to my core, it's who I am. So I think just I don't want to let people down, and I don't want people to think badly of me. Like, I want them to. I basically wanted to be at people's like beck and call, like anything you need, like I'll help because I didn't want to lose my job and I don't want to lose the clients and all that. But that's not the way the world works. Like you can't be available 24/7 to people, and I think it is like I said, it's like a huge mindset shift that I had to make and that other people will have to make as well when they like when they're wanting out of that state 'cause it's so draining. Like I would just be at like family parties. I would be like at all these like different events where like my clients are messaging me and don't get me wrong, it still happens. But like if my client messages me now, I know that it's semi-urgent because we're not really in as much contact. So like I think even just stating your boundaries as well, like my friend has an email signature now and he says like I've got like ADHD and I work in like different modes. So like my response times vary. If something is urgent, mark the email with the word urgent.
Oh
And
no.
like, and I say that to my accountant, for example, as well. Like she'll send me voice notes and I know like myself, and I'm not the best at replying to voice notes because I get overwhelmed because I've got a lot of voice notes to reply to and it's time and energy consuming. So I said to her, like, if there's something important in there that I need to action, can you please text me that or send me an email saying action required? That's a boundary for me that I'm like putting in place. It's not a boundary, sorry. It's me just like setting intention
Yeah, well,
and
it's an
saying like,
internal
can,
boundary.
yeah, as an
Yeah.
internal boundary, I suppose. So yeah, I think just looking at yourself, at your business, at your systems, or even if you're an employee, like potentially having like a talk with like your manager and just like articulating how you feel and the fact that you feel like you need a tiny bit of your own space.
Yeah, that's so important that you mentioned about the systems because there's actually a big correlation between. So I actually work obviously in addiction with high performers, and a lot of high performers and people that struggle with addiction both actually have ADHD. Like there's a big
Yeah,
correlation with business owners and a big correlation with addiction. So I
yeah,
cross paths with ADHDers a lot. And a system that I like to put in place for my ADHDers. So for anyone that's listening, it may even be useful for you, Karla, too, which is a traffic light system. So it's a red, amber, green system. And there's a few different sections to it. So the first section is your signs. So what are the signs that you're in the red? Maybe you're tired or you're groggy or you lack motivation or whatever that looks like in the individual's world. The amber could be, I don't know, training twice a week instead of 5 times a week or something like that, or eating
yeah,
is off or something like that. And green could be, I feel so connected, I love my job, I love my life, I'm eating well, I'm drinking lots of water, etc. And then you put your work notes. So underneath the red, amber, green, you then put your work notes and understand when Karla's in the red, amber, or green, what does she need to do at work? Maybe you have a day off, maybe you I don't know, don't take calls on that day or whatever. And the same for
yeah,
amber and the same for green. And it's the same in your personal life too. Like if you lived with people, I presume you probably live by yourself in Bali, but if you lived with someone, you could then stick it on the fridge. And you could be like, right, when Karla's in the red, she needs space. When Karla's in the green, she wants
yeah,
to connect. And you can just really understand and see. And it's a management, right? And it doesn't just have to be for ADHD. You can use that for anxiety, addiction, work, like whatever. But that may be a really useful tool for you or for anyone listening to implement as well.
yeah. No, I like that. Like, I think listening to your internal cues is so important, and like, you have to understand them first, and then listen to them. But like, I think a huge part as well is like who you surround yourself with, like who is giving you energy and who's draining your energy, and also what are you doing, like not just in your business but in your life that's like taking energy away and that's giving you energy. So like we spoke about like alcohol and caffeine and binge eating and TV and all the rest of it. That was all taking my energy away. They were energy takers. I thought they were giving me dopamine, but they were giving me the fake dopamine. So like I traded that for like great in real life connections, hobbies that I love, like sunlight and just doing things that give me purpose. And that is the things that actually give me energy now. So it's like making sure that you are aware, like you said, the traffic light system as well, like of your cues. Like if you're, for example, I was at a networking event recently and my like I would say I was like in the red. I was just very, very, very anxious and I just yeah, I wasn't feeling like myself. And I knew in that moment that I had to leave. And I got up and I left. Because that's about, like, old me would have stayed in that situation and would have put on a mask and pretended everything was okay and would have let, like, my energy drain. And it would have made me anxious. Like, it would have thrown my entire nervous system off. But now that I'm so in tune with myself and my emotions and like sort of spiritually in tune with myself, I was able to like listen to my gut and listen to my mind and my body and just literally like all my senses and be like, I am not okay in this moment and I just have to be alone. So like I just says like I'm away and I left the networking event and I just came home and sat alone and just did something that filled my cup up and I recharged and I felt so good for it. And there's been so many times now where I'm like, I'm not burnt out, but I'm like, I have the symptoms where I'm like potentially needing burnout. So I have to, if I've got like an event or something coming up, it's like a sacrifice, right? So I'm sort of saying no to some things, but I'm saying like yes to myself, which is what I didn't do before. It's like you put yourself first and you fill your own cup up, and then the overpour goes to everything and everyone else. But if your cup is empty, like you've nothing to give to anyone else. That's what started my whole like self-development journey. I read the 12 Rules for Life by Jordan B. Peterson, and then like rule 3 or 4, he speaks about treating yourself like someone you love, and I wasn't doing that before. I speak about this on every podcast I go on because it's like a pivotal moment for me. But if you've not read the book, it's like if your dog is unwell, you take them to the vet. Someone you love is unwell, you look after them. Like you encourage them to go to the doctors or you physically look after them yourself. Like why when we're not like well, whether that's physically, spiritually, or emotionally, do we not treat ourselves with the same love, kindness, empathy, and grace that we give everyone and everything else? So at the time, I was like anemic. I wasn't taking my iron tablets. Like I, I was depressed, but I wasn't doing anything to help myself. I wasn't happy with my self-image, but I wasn't moving my body. So I was like, right, okay, I have to treat myself like someone I love. And then that's basically what triggered everything for me. So treat yourself like someone that you love.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like sometimes you have to be selfish to be selfless.
Yeah.
And I like to tell my clients to treat themselves like a commercial athlete. So if they're like a business owner or something, I say to them like a lot of business owners that I work with are actually like former athletes or something like that sometimes. And I ask them the questions of like, how did you treat yourself when you were an athlete? And they'd be like, oh, I'd only train like 3 times a week. I'd have downtime. I'd do this and that. Um,
Mm.
and then it's like, well, you're a commercial athlete. Like, see yourself as a commercial athlete. Like, have those rest days, fill up your cup. And it's so important. And I had a client the other day. He is like a business development manager in the UK. And he was in a storm. He was very much under the cosh. He was exhausted. He had everything up to his eyeballs, stresses, everything like that. And I just held the mirror up to him and essentially showed him what he couldn't see. And
Mm.
I said to him, "When's the next time you can take some downtime?" He was like, "Oh, like I think like next weekend or something." And so I said, "Cool, book yourself an Airbnb, leave your phone at home and take yourself away for the weekend." And I think that was either last weekend or the weekend coming up. So I'm excited to see how it landed. But it's so
That's
important
amazing.
to have someone to hold the mirror up and say, what is going on here? Like normally you can't actually see it when you're in the bottle, right? You can't read the label when you're in the
Mm.
bottle. So it's so
Yeah.
important.
That's why like for me it started off as like a sort of book, but then it was surrounding myself with other people who were holding the mirror up to themselves, which then forced me to hold it up to myself. But then that spiraled and it was like my parents were saying to me, like, you don't seem like yourself, like what's going on? Like all the people in my life were starting to like just be honest with me because it's like I wasn't realizing it myself, and it's like you said, it's like it's all about holding the mirror up. But even if you don't have those people to do that for you, it's like looking inwardly at yourself, or obviously like working with someone like yourself as well who can like hold you accountable. But like yeah, looking inwardly and just doing the work because it's like it's hard work. Like healing and development and like looking after yourself isn't easy. I think people like look at my life, and so many people say to me, like, you're living the dream. I know I'm living my dream now, right? But they're like, you live in Bali and you have your own business and all that. I'm like, I work so hard on myself tirelessly every single day now. Like, there's a million and one things that I do for myself every single day now, and I have to do those things because if I don't do those things, I know that I'm going to go back to the way I once was because I'm such an all or nothing person. So it's like I have to, and everyone has to like keep up the momentum because it's like a never-ending journey of like filling your own cup up and looking after yourself, and it's just like, yeah, as humans and as high performers, just constantly like wanting to better ourselves, but trying to find a way that doesn't burn us out in the process and that we actually enjoy.
Yeah, well, it's a marathon and it's not a sprint, right? So it's about
Yeah,
understanding like what's the level that Carla can operate at consistently without like
yeah,
the spike and then the drop and then the spike and then the drop. Like, how can you stay in the game? And that's the most
yeah,
important part. So I completely
yeah.
agree. It sounds like you've come from a very difficult, challenging place emotionally and mentally and physically to a place where it sounds like it's pretty much the complete opposite. It sounds like you've done a real U-turn, which is impressive. For
Yeah.
anyone that's listening that is potentially in your old state of living, overworking, stressed, lots of TV, toxic relationship, lots of caffeine, sugar, all of this stuff that's normalized, alcohol, but wants to get to where you are today, what advice would you give them? Or what advice would you give the younger you?
I would say to just start. Like, nothing changes if nothing changes. So that's what I would say to other people. Like, you have to make a change. And it doesn't have to be, like we spoke about, it doesn't have to be a huge U-turn on your life within one day. It's like one small change. It helps like colossally. And it's knowing that your actions, like you're constantly wanting to work towards your future selves. Like, what does that future self look like? And what actions can you take today that will help you work towards that future self? And like, would younger you looking at you today be proud of who you are? Because I know back then, younger me would not be proud of like who I was. But now looking back, looking at me now, like she would be. So it's like you have to, yeah, you have to just like put yourself first and take action because otherwise nothing changes.
Yeah. And what does taking action look like?
Things for me, it was vision boarding.
Mm.
No, it's just taking the first step. It's figuring out where you are and where you want to be, like, and then taking action to get to that place. So that looks different for every single person. For me, taking action was very extreme. Like, my version of taking action was I did no, what did I start? Right. I started my self-development journey, and then I ended my 10-year relationship, and then I sold the dream house that I'd been working on for like 3 years, and I moved back with my parents at the age of 27, and then I started the 75 hard challenge, and I cut out all my toxic, like, not toxic, but my bad habits. And then I started to like become like this extremely disciplined version of myself. So I like, yeah, I just decided what habits I wanted to have and what person I wanted to become, and I stayed like consistent with them, very disciplined. Like, your actions don't have to be in your relationship, selling your house, moving back with your parents, and starting a business. I'm just very extreme when it comes to things like that. But it's like, apart that aside, it's like once I'd done all that, like I was still in a very, very, very dark place. Like, I still had to rebuild myself. That was the first step. And then I had to, yeah, get from like point A to point B and figuring out a path to get there. you have to figure out where you want to be. Like, who do you actually want to become? It's like very deep and profound, but like, what impact do you want to have in the world? Like, what do you want to make from your life? What purpose, like, are you working towards? Like, ask yourself all of those questions, which people don't usually do. When I started like going deep and asking myself, like, what is my purpose? Like, what impact do I want to have? Like, like, what dent I want to create in the world by the time I'm older? Like, if I get to that age, then like it's looking at my life and thinking I'm not working towards like my purpose or any sort of impact, and then it's like rejigging your life strategy.
Yeah, I love that. And that's where a lot of people get stuck is they may do that for a couple of weeks and then it kind of fades away. And then they'll
Yeah,
tell themselves that they'll do it again, but they never quite do it again. And that's obviously where it's important to hold to hire a coach or someone to come in and be like, A, to hold you accountable, but B, to ask you the questions that you don't even know are within you. Like,
yeah,
it sounded like you had the questions within you, which is great, but some people aren't even aware of the questions they need to ask themselves. And that's where the real change, no, that's where the real challenge occurs is like, okay, I'm at A, I want to get to B, but how do I get there? And how do I even know where to go or how to get there? So that's when like you obviously hire a coach. I don't know if you've worked with any coaches or
uh,
therapists. Yeah.
yeah. But to be fair, that's what started with me. Like, I had a client who was a motivation
Oh,
and like vision boarding coach, and that like she asked me all those questions.
okay.
So it wasn't like an internal thing because I've tried to do deep inner work in myself before. I tried to read The Secret and I tried to do all these things. But I think you have to be in a place to be able to mentally absorb that information and then sort of act on it. So it's like a whole spiritual journey. You have to go through a lot of mindset shifts. You have to do a lot of deep inner work because you can fill out any sort of questionnaire about what your purpose is, but like, are you actually going to act on it? Like, you have to be, I think, in a very, very specific place in your life to like dig deep into your soul, to like look at all of that, and then to actually think like, right, this is it. Like, I am never going back. For me, that was rock bottom. Like, that was my place. I was like, I'm at this place, and I never ever want to go back to where I was. Rock bottom was like it for me, and then I had to rebuild. So that rock bottom is it for most people. Like they have to hit like significant pain in order to be like, I am not tolerating this anymore. I need help. And then they'll reach out to someone that they love, or a coach, or a therapist, or a mental health professional, and that's where the rebuild starts.
Yeah. And for someone that hasn't ever worked with a coach before, because I appreciate there's a lot of people that have maybe been stung before or maybe don't trust what even coaching is, like what even is a coach.
Yeah.
Like, what advice would you give someone that's like listening to this or whatever and thinking, I feel like I need to take that step, but I'm scared.
I think that one of the best things that you can ever do in life is to invest in yourself. So that also means financially invest in yourself because you're working with someone who is a professional. They're an expert in the field and they've helped like hundreds or thousands of other people in the same situation and circumstances that you're currently in. Obviously, not every single coach or therapist will be like right for you. That's why you have to make sure that they align with you and that what they're putting out there and the energy that they're putting out there. I think a lot of the time it's not even about years and experience and expertise, it's about the individual as well and like how you connect with the individual. Because if someone likes and respects and trusts you as a person, they're much more likely to listen to you and to your advice and they want to like make you happy in a way. Like and they want to listen to like your wisdom and give you time and energy. So I think that's really important. Like I have worked with business coaches, like PTs, like mood boarding, like every sort of coach that you can think of, and it it's transformed like every sort of area of my life every time that I've did it. So it's an investment, but if like working with the right one, it's like a worthwhile investment.
Yeah, for sure. And I've worked with lots of different coaches, and sometimes some of them haven't like completely shaken my world metaphorically, but you pick up like one thing from this person, one
Yeah,
thing from this person, and it just accumulates to this kind of um success, right? Like
yeah,
one thing from him, and it just curates this kind of nice finished article. I don't believe we're ever a finished article, but in regards to the progression, you kind of create like this kind of metaphorical snowball, I suppose,
yeah.
and it's very cumulative. So, yeah, I absolutely love that. Um, if there was one thing that if we jumped off the call and you had one thing that you thought, oh, I wish I shared that on that podcast today. What would that one thing be?
Put me on the spot.
That's what I'm here for.
Do you know what? I think it's very important to like not compare because I know I'm coming on and I'm speaking about like where I am now, but I think it's very, very important to like not compare yourself to other people. I think that's like a very important like thing. Like look at yourself in your own journey and like stay in your own lane and like stay in your own little bubble and just like work on yourself and try your hardest to like limit outside distractions as much as humanly possible because there's just so many distractions in the world. Like I'm tempted by them all as well, but it's like I the distractions don't help me work towards the person that I want to become as well. So just like act with intention and with purpose, like not with everything that you're doing, you have to have fun as well, but just like, yeah, you think about who you want to become and then like just like you have the power to create your own life, right? We're all the as cliche as it sounds, you can tell I'm a writer with what I'm about to say, but we're all the authors of our own book. Like you can literally start a new chapter at any point in your life. It's never too late. You're never too old. I thought that I was too old to like start a business. I wasn't. Thought I was too old to leave a relationship that I'd invested so much time into. I wasn't. Thought I was too old to move abroad alone. I wasn't. It's like you're never too old to do anything either. So I think, yeah, just like create the life that you want to create and do it with like intention and purpose and try and avoid yourself of distractions while you're doing it.
Love that. Love that. Well, I disagree with what you said about you've been talking about where you are right now because you've actually been speaking a lot about your past and your struggles too. And it's important to reflect on where you've been and where you are. And you've put a lot of work in. So you should be proud of what you've got today
Um,
because you wouldn't have got this far if you hadn't of gone through and learned all of that stuff, right? Like you've learned a lot from the past, Carla, and
yeah,
that's what's made you who you are today. So yeah, good work and keep it up. It looks like you're doing some incredible stuff out in Bali. Um
yeah,
and I see you on LinkedIn, so it looks like you're making a positive impact by sharing your story as well. So
yeah. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me and giving me the space and opportunity to speak about all this. I think it's very important to dive into it all and to just have a open, honest, vulnerable chat about things that are usually quite difficult to articulate.